And here we are back to do some more definite integrals. Now, what we've been saying is that the definite integral represents an area, right? So with this problem here, let's focus on this definite integral right here. It's saying it's looking for the area under the curve 4 minus x. So this is the curve 4 minus x. It's looking for the area under the curve between x equals 2 and x equals 4. So what does that look like on our graph? Well, we start with x equals 2. We go over to x equals 4, and we shade in all this area. Now, there's a lot of different ways we can find the area here. One of them is in our calculator using FNIT. Another one is just by kind of looking at the shape. We say, well, the height is equal to 2, and the width is equal to 2, or the base, sometimes we'll say. And since this is a triangle, our area here, area 1 is equal to 1/2 times base times height times 2 times 2, so 1/2 times 4 is equal to 2. Now we actually haven't been telling the whole story. Let's look at something like this. All right. So here it's asking, what we've been saying is the area under the curve between 4 and 6. So here's 6, and we'll shade this in. And so we may think that, oh, it's going to be just about the same thing, right? Area 2, the base is 2, and the height is kind of 2. And so our area 2, we might say, well, that's 1/2 times 2 the base times 2 the height, and we'd get positive 2 again. But what we actually want you to realize here is that when we are underneath the x-axis, we're going to have negative values. And specifically the reason for this is our height here is actually negative, right? It goes 2 down. It doesn't go 2 up, it goes 2 down. So our height's negative, so rather than a positive 2, we would have a negative 2 there. And then this, it's not really an area anymore, but this definite integral is not going to be equal to positive 2. It's going to be equal to negative 2, because this area gets counted as negative area. That's the big takeaway. If it's below the x-axis, you get negative area. And so if we look at something like this, we're going all the way between 2 and 6. So 2 is here, 6 is out here. We have to get all this area. We're actually going to have to calculate this definite integral. You have to count this as negative area. So we have a1 and we'd have a2. But remember that this gets counted as negative, right? So we'd have 1/2 times the base of a1 times the height of a1 plus, and then we'll do a2 over here, 1/2 times the base of a2 times the height. And so we'll have 2 plus negative 2. All right, the negative 2 is just like here, and we'll actually end up getting 0. Even though there's a lot of area, we end up getting 0 because this is counted as negative area. That's the very important thing to take away, is when you're below the x-axis, you get negative area. Now, let's look at what a couple of these things might look like, what a problem might look like. So in all these examples, we are going to go, we're taking an integral, and it wants to know whether the following are positive, negative, or equal to 0. So let's start with f. So f, we're going from 0 to 2, so let's shade the area we have. So there's a lot of area, but does this area get counted as positive or negative? It gets counted as positive because it's above the x-axis, right? All these things are positive height. So we don't even really have to calculate it here. We just say positive. And for the next one, though, we're going from 2 to 4. So 2 starts here, so we have a little bit of area that's above. And then we have a lot of area that's below. So the reason I'm choosing these two is because I start at 2 and I end at 4. That's what these bounds tell me. And so is this whole thing going to be positive or negative? Well, I have a little bit of positive area, but I have a lot of negative area. So this is going to be negative. How about this one here? Let's take a look at this. From 0 to 4, we're going to include everything we're showing here. And we have some positive area. We have some negative area. We have some stuff that's below the x-axis. So is this thing going to be positive or negative? Well, if you actually look at it, this has a base of 2. This has a base of 2. My height here is 1. My height here is negative 1. So these two areas will actually perfectly cancel out. Unlike here, where we had a lot more positive area, a lot more negative area than positive area, here we have the same amounts of positive and negative area. So this one will be 0, just like our example above, right? We had two areas that canceled out. So thing to remember is when you're below the x-axis, you can have negative area.